I'll share my screen. Okay, is everyone able to see my screen? It should be a USPS demo. I'm going to assume that's yes. Okay. So let me pull up my notes so I don't forget anything. Oh, not that one. Okay. So the first thing that we are going to review here is job calendars. So under core job calendar, this is where you're going to update all of your calendars. You want to make sure that you do this prior to doing your new contracts, because when you are loading new contracts or copying new contracts, it will come out here and look at your job calendar. And if you don't have any days on it, it's going to upload with 0 days. And that causes problems because it doesn't want to give you a correct daily rate. And obviously their days don't get picked up for retirement. So make sure the first thing that you do is you update your job calendars. You can do this at any point between now and the time you start working on new contracts. Just make sure you do it first. So first of all, if you have a lot of job calendars that you are no longer using, you can archive them by just clicking on the edit button and then check the box that says archived. It helps just clean up your grid a little bit, so you can uncheck this box. That's the default, is to not show your archive. And it just cleans it up, that way you're not, sorry, not just talking to me. This way you don't have all of these crazy calendars that you're no longer using. So you can create a new one if you need to. I don't think that's super common, but if you need to, you can create a new one. You can update these. So we are going to update this one. I'm going to click on edit. And I'm just going to come in here and say, okay, I want to add work days from 7/1/24 to 6/30 of 25. And I'm going to make this real easy because these are my 260-day people. So they are pretty much here every single day. So I'm just going to start out by mass updating every work day or every day of the week as a work day.
Anya, you're muted. Unmute you. I can't unmute you.
There you go. Now can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I think I tried to mute somebody else and I muted
Yeah,
myself.
I think we need to mute. You got the right person muted.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so now let me go back to sharing. We'll get this together. Okay. Okay, so I clicked the mass update, and so now if I look at July of 24, now I've got work days on here. Then the easiest thing to do if you have holidays, just come in here. If you right click, you can say, okay, this is a holiday. Moving through to, I don't even know when Labor Day is, but right click and say holiday. So you can just update it that way. If you have some, unpaid days or a non-work day, you can easily right click and say none. It'll take it off. Then once you have it all updated, you can do your custom date range to say, okay, I want to see how many days I have on my calendar during this time frame. And right here, I can see I've got 258 work days and 2 holidays. So either that's right or it's wrong, whatever that is. So that's a quick overview on how you update your calendars. You want to make sure you hit save. Don't just close it, because if you don't save, you've lost it all. So then if you have other calendars that are the same or they're close, maybe your exempt calendar here is very similar to your custodial calendar, you can copy. And I'm going to say, okay, I want to copy from 7/1 of 24. Nope, sorry. I want to copy from my exempt calendar. And these are the dates that I want to copy. If you're typing in the date, be very careful that you're using the correct date. It will accept something really weird like 2/00/25, and then it just causes you a problem. So if you're going to type it in, just be careful. So I'm copying from my exempt calendar that I just updated, and I want to copy it to my custodian calendar. And if you had another one, maybe I want to copy it to my admin calendar too. I can just click copy, and that's just going to go out there and put the exact same work days on those calendars. But then maybe it's slightly different. Maybe the custodian calendar has some different holidays. I can just come in here now and find, maybe this is actually a work day for them. Give them this holiday, whatever you need to do. So you can just update it that way and just hit save. Okay, and then, so that's just a quick overview on updating it, copying. If you want to, you can mass change. So you can say, I want to change, 12/25/24 to be a holiday on all of these calendars. And save. And then if we come in here and look at the admin calendar and go to December, it updated it to be a holiday. Any questions on updating your calendars?
I'm thinking just point out that there's 2 mass changes on the page, which is a little confusing for those buttons, and just
Yes,
the one is
this mass change, I can't honestly see a reason why you would ever use this in this situation. Like, I have never used it, and I can't imagine why you would. So it's this mass change with a little plus button that allows you to change a date to be a specific, work day or whatever. Once you have everything done, if you use the job calendar report, maybe this is what you hand out to employees if you don't have another version of your calendar. You can do job calendar report, put in the time frame that you want to see your report from. So this is going to be their contract year. This actually just recently got an update. So when I generate this, it creates a PDF, and it's way easier to look at now. You've got these highlighted rows that kind of help separate it a little bit. It's nice that it tells you for each month how many work days, how many holidays, calamities make up. And then it should always end, as long as you're running it for like a 12-month period. It should all be contained to these 2 pages. But at the bottom, you have a grand total, so you can see a total of their work days and holidays. So you could print that if you need to, or just use it for a checking to make sure you have all the correct work days. One other thing I want to mention, because it was causing problems for one poor district, we couldn't figure out why this was happening. In your pay groups, you can assign job calendars. And what this does is when you are creating a compensation, if that employee is pay group, in this case, pay group 10, if you fail to assign them a calendar, it will default to the calendar that's listed on your pay group here. So I think most of us are probably in the habit of going ahead and adding that calendar, but maybe not. But what was happening with this district, they had recently switched calendars. And the old calendar was assigned right here. So we couldn't figure out why these people continued to get, because the calendar was archived. So we had archived the calendar because it wasn't being used anymore, but it kept appearing. And then I discovered that it was attached right here. So if you archive some old calendars, just make sure that the typical pay group, the typical calendar assigned to each pay group is listed in here. If you came from classic days, this wasn't something that existed. But I wanted to point out because it caused those problems for a while and it took a while to figure it out. So just in case you didn't know. All right. Any questions on job calendars? All right. I will move on to new contracts. So new contracts are in processing new contracts. There's a couple of different ways that you can do new contracts. We'll review each of them. And we'll spend a little more time on the importing, just because that one's a little more detailed. And if you use the import process that we designed last year, there's been some improvements to it. And so we'll review what those improvements are and talk about that. So in new contract, the first way is that you can copy one at a time. So you just have one random person that you need to do a new contract for. You do copy, you find your employee. I'm just gonna pick on somebody here. Of course, I pick on somebody not good. Make sure you choose the correct compensation. So I'm gonna do this position too. It's automatically going to come up to new contract, and that's what you want. And you can put your compensation start and stop dates. So just for consistency, I'm going to keep using July to June. And then I hit create. This gives me current information. So this is what is currently, like this is his current contract, his current unit amount, job calendar, you know, everything that's currently on his contract. You can hit this clear button, and this clears the unit amount, the contract amount, obligation, and the per pay. It doesn't clear anything else. If you want to clear it, maybe you don't want to clear it. Maybe you want to be able to see what it was before or to make sure that there's a change. So you do not have to hit the clear button. So as you can see here, it went ahead and gave us the new start and stop dates because I put those in when I created it. If I forgot to, no big deal, or if I put the wrong dates, you can update it right here. It automatically pulled in the work days, so it's got 23 work days, and that's because that's the only work days that I have on this calendar. I did not update it. So you can see how it automatically pulls it in. You can update anything that's on here, give them a new label. So maybe you want FY 24, 25. This label, if you're not using it, is so handy. It helps with filtering your grid when you're trying to find current year compensations. It helps when adding future pay. When you're in, but before you've archived the prior year compensations, you can see what the current one is, so you know which one to pick. So we highly encourage you to use the label here. You can change the hours in the day if you need to, pay group, anything. If you do not have to manually key in this unit amount. If I just put in his new obligation, and we're just going to give $5,000. If I just put in the amount and obligation and come up here and hit calculate, it's going to give me, it's going to tell you that it's been updated. If it's not updated, it'll tell you that there's no change. So just review those warnings, but it gives me a new unit amount, which is based upon the amount that I put here and the work days. If he were hourly, it'd be based upon work days and hours in the day. It also gives me a new per pay amount. So you can review that, make sure it's correct. Once you're good with all of these changes, you hit save, and then you're done. So that's copying one at a time. I'm going to delete him because I think I have him in another file, so I don't want to cause problems. You can mass copy. So the next option is mass copy. So it's the second tab here. Job status of active, that's probably what you want. Chances are you're not doing new contract for inactive people. I don't know why you would ever include archived employees, but you can include compensations active as of and use a date that was like with the compensation start date. Generally, I think just using active is probably going to get you what you need. You can choose your pay group. So when I put pay group 4 over here, I can see everybody that's going to be pulled in. So this is everybody that's in pay group 4 that's going to give me a new contract. I can go ahead and put in my start and stop dates. So I don't have to do it on each one later. And I can build new contracts. So I've got 37 compensations in my new contract. So now I come back over here to new contract maintenance. And there they all are. So this is my pay group 4. From here, I have to manually go into each one of these and make my updates. So I need to update my label. And then I need to put in my new compensation amount. I can hit my calculate button from here and get my unit amount and my per pay amount. Watch this pays in contract. If it was somebody that started mid-year, maybe they only had 22 pays instead of 26. So that might need to be updated. And if you update it, you need to come back in and calculate again, because obviously that's going to change the per pay amount. And so you can see here, per pay has been calculated based upon contract values, but there's been no change in my unit. And that's because his days didn't change, only his number of pays. So instead of stretching it for 22, I've got 26 now. Everybody with me so far? Okay. So from here, like I said, you're going into each one of these individuals and you're updating it one at a time. So to me, unless this is 1 or 2 people, this is not very efficient, because you've got to click on each one, you got to edit each one, you got to save it, you got to close the box. It's kind of a lot of clicks. So the next option, and I'm going to delete these, and I didn't point this out, but if you just need to delete one, you click on it, like maybe it pulled in somebody who is leaving, you know that they're retiring, but they pulled in because they're active. So you just check the box and hit delete. Yep, I want to delete it. But maybe the whole pay group is wrong pay group, whatever. Just check this box at the top. It'll highlight everybody and you delete. Okay, so the next option is importing your new contracts. This is my personal preferred method, especially if you've got larger groups. Like I said, if it's 1 or 2 people, these other 2 options are not bad at all. But when you're dealing with, aides or teachers, this is probably going to be your best option. So we have created, and a lot of you used this last year, we had this new contract instructions where you run a report, you update the spreadsheet, and then you upload it back in. I made some good updates to it. If you recall last year, well, here, let me run the report first. So there's a report under reports and report manager. If you don't have these reports, just let us know. We can upload them for you. I was only, we upload them as you guys need them. Previously, there was a report called New Contract by Pay Group. But once you ran it, you had to copy and paste headers from another template into this report. Well, my new report that I've created, New Contract by Pay Group with headers, already has the headers on it. So you get to completely get rid of that step of copying from a template into this report. So our new instructions does not have that. So if you would like to use the New Contract by Pay Group with headers to get rid of that step, and I would suggest that you do, just put in a quick ticket and we'll upload the new one for you, and we'll get rid of that old one, so you don't have any confusion. I didn't want to do it like automatically go out and do it for everybody, because if people were already working on it, I didn't want to mess you up. I didn't want to mess up your flow. So I just want to be cautious on, people have their routines, and if you like that routine, by all means, stick to it. But I do think this is easier. So when you have this New Contract by Pay Group with headers, you come in here, and first of all, you can favorite it. You can click on this little guy right here, so it's on your home page. So now if I come out here to my home, and now these, I don't have any favorites. This is my only favorite. So it's right here for me to run. So I can click on it right here. All of this is already set up for you. It's going to run in Excel data. In your query options, and this is detailed out in the instructions. Hang on, let me back up and tell you what this report does. This report pulls in active, so it tells right here, your active employees. So if their job status is active, if they're inactive, it won't be on here. And they have to have a fiscal year to date gross amount. If they do, and they have to be on stretch pay. If all 3 of those do not apply, if they're not active, or if they don't have a fiscal year to date gross, or they're not on stretch pay, they won't pull in. With that being said, if you try to run this report after you have made July your posting period, but you have not run a July payroll, it will not pull anybody in because it's looking for a fiscal year to date gross amount. So either run it before you change your posting period to July, or if you forget to, or you run out of time or whatever, that's okay. You would just need to go back in and make June your current posting period before running the report. And that's just so it sees a fiscal year to date gross amount to pull people in. I hope that's clear. I know I went around the block a few times there. Okay. So back into running the report. In your query options, this is your pay group, and you can enter one pay group, you can enter multiple. If you want to run several pay groups on one report, because maybe you have several pay groups that are all on the same salary schedule, you can run it. You would enter your first one, separated by a comma, no space, and then enter your next one. And that will allow you to run multiple pay groups. In this case, I'm only going to do pay group 11. So like I said, this is already set up. I enter my pay group right here. And it's the code that's assigned to it, not the pay group name. And then I'm going to generate my report. Okay. So this is what it pulls out. This is information that's current in the system. So this is current year salaries. What you used to have to do is then find that template that we had, copy the headers, and then paste them right here so these headers were correct. Now it automatically gives you the correct headers to import it back into new contracts. So it skips that step now. So back to the instructions. So some of these columns have specific information that has to be in them. So like column E has to have the number 4. So column E, right now, yours will say contract. I'm dealing with outdated information, so it says legacy, but when you pull it out, it's going to say contract. But in order to upload correctly back into new contract, it has to be the number 4. So you're just going to put a 4 in there, and you can copy and paste that all the way down. So column E needs to be a 4. Column F, this is your label. So new compensation label. This is where you're probably going to want to have something that says something to the effect of FY24-25, FY25, you know, whatever. Maybe it's, I've seen where some people put the position description in there first. So it would say Secretary FY24-25, whatever works for you. I just think the label is, you know, really handy to have the fiscal year. So then you can copy and paste that all the way down as well. And then the last special instruction is column R. It will come out and says true, but it needs to be a Y. So you're going to change that to a Y and copy that all the way down. From here, you're updating all of your information. So, you know, this information is already correct. Your ID, your last name, first name. We've updated our label, our job calendar. If it's changing for the next year, you could update it here. I say that's probably not super common. This compensation description is actually the position description because typically they're the same. Your contract start and stop date. So this is one that you're gonna need to update. 7/1 of 24. And then 6/30 of 25 or whatever it is. I'm trying to be consistent here. So then we get to your unit amount, your pay per period, and your contract amount and obligation. So you have a couple of options here. If you have another spreadsheet that you keep like internally, like a roster sort of thing, if you want to copy and paste, you can. I just tell you to use extreme caution that your order is correct. So the order that this spreadsheet is the same order as your other spreadsheet that you're copying from. The last thing you want is to copy the wrong salary. But you can manually key it in. So I'm going to say this person's going to 18 and 19 because I don't want to think too hard. So once you have the contract amount in here, you could actually do a formula to make the obligation the same. So you wouldn't have to key it in both, or you could copy and paste as well. But if you did equals this, so the contract amount column, it'll just automatically populate whatever you put in the previous column. Or like I said, just go down here, enter each one of these to whatever you want it to be. And then you could copy and paste all of the amounts and paste it over here. For the pay per period, you can manually key it in if you want to calculate it and figure out what it is. Or you can do a formula. So I want to say equals contract amount divided by, in this case, this is a bi-weekly payroll. So I'm going to do 26. And it'll give me a per pay amount. The unit amount can be a little trickier, especially if they're hourly, because you would need to know how many hours per day they are, which is on here. So you need to know their hours and their days in order to do that calculation. Daily is a little bit easier because it's just their contract amount divided by their number of days. So you do need to do their number of days because their contract days are not on this spreadsheet. It can be if you really want it. So if that's something you want to pull out of here, just let us know and we can update your specific report in your report manager. The reason I kind of like that it's not on here is because it's kind of a checks and balance. Because when you upload this, it's going to go out and look at the job calendar that you have and ensure that and look at the days, and that's where it's going to calculate your days from. So if you were to upload this and then go in and look at it in new contract and there's no days, you'd be like, oh, I didn't update my job calendar for these people. So it's kind of a checks and balance for me. But if you're like, no, I really want my work days on here, because if it's on here and you upload it, that's what we'll upload. But it may not be correct if you don't have days on the actual job calendar. So the other option you have is you actually do not have to have the pay per period or the unit amount at all. When you upload the contract amount and obligation, it will automatically fill in these two based upon the contract amount, the hours in a day, and the contract work days on the calendar. So you don't have to put them in at all if you don't want to. That is up to you. So any questions on that so far? Okay. So going down the list here, you've got your pays and contract. You want to make sure these are correct. Like I said, making sure that you're looking for people that started mid-year. Make sure that they have the correct number of pays. You can also update your salary schedule column and step if this is something you are utilizing. You could do this one of two ways. You could just come in here and manually key it in one at a time. Or you could get real fancy. I'll try not to lose any of you here. You could come out to this blank column here and you could say equals this plus 1. And this is gonna, so and then you could just drag down that formula. And so this is, again, not really putting a whole lot of thought into this, but this is their new step for the upcoming fiscal year. And then I could, once I have that, I could right click and I can copy, and then I can come back in here. I hope this works. And I can paste the value. There we go. And so now I have my new steps without having to key each one in. Probably not as easy on the column because not everybody's switching columns, but you will have some people changing columns. And then you can delete this. You don't need that column anymore. Hours in a day. If you have people changing their hours in a day, you can update that. You might want to update that before you go trying to do, your unit amount if you're going to try to do a formula. Pay group. I don't know why you would be doing that here, but you could. And then the calendar start and stop dates. You don't have to change them if you don't want to. Some districts tend to use their compensation start and stop dates for their calendar start and stop dates. And if that's your practice, I'm not going to knock it. You do you. But if you have these really, really old compensation or calendar start dates, sorry, you don't have to change it. It's fine. It'll keep working. So any questions? Okay. So once you have everything updated, you will want to go back to our instructions here. Also, I do have additional notes on here, like other than the specific, those columns that have the specific information. It just tells you make all changes to the employee's new contract. Column X and Y do not need to be updated. That's the calendar start dates. That you can use formulas. It'll accept formulas. If you don't put in the unit amount or the per pay amount, it will automatically calculate. And this is an important one right here. So once you have everything good, you are going to do File, Save As, and you want to change this from Excel to a CSV, delimited. If you use any of these other CSVs, Macintosh, MS-DOS, this CSV UTF-8, those will not upload, you'll get an error. It has to be CSV, delimited. So you need to save your file as that. And the reason I don't generate this in CSV to start with is because it tends to drop zeros, especially leading zeros. I've seen it cause problems, so I don't automatically download it like that. So then you would save that. I'm not going to save this specific one because I already have one that we are going to work on. So this is my CSV file that I had worked on previously, and I know it works. Oh, no, not that one, sorry. So here's my file I'm going to upload. And I just want to point out right here that Beasley here, I only entered the contract amount and obligation. I did not do a per pay or a unit amount because I want you to see how that works. So to upload this, you go to your processing, new contracts. Third tab, import new contracts. You're going to choose your CSV file, not your Excel. So right here, I can see that it's a comma separated values. It's not a worksheet. I'm not going to put a contract start date because it's in my file. It's in my spreadsheet I'm uploading. So I don't need to put it here. And I'm going to import. So it'll tell you how many were loaded, how many errors, and the total records. If you saw up here, it always produces an error report, whether you have errors or not. So you can open it and see that it's blank. But if it tells you right here that it's 0, then you don't need to open it. So this is my error report. It's blank. If you had errors, it would tell you what the error was. Sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. So now, back here in new contract maintenance, now I can see all of those that I just uploaded. I've got my new label. So I am going to sort this. So let's look at Beasley here, because remember, I didn't enter a unit amount or a per pay amount. He's got a unit amount, a really high unit amount, because there's only 23 work days on that specific job calendar. And then he's got his per pay based upon his contract amount and his pays in contract. If I look at my other ones, because I think they're on a different calendar. So these people are on my exempt calendar that I updated earlier. So they have 260 work days. So that pulled in from my job calendar, not from the spreadsheet. Now, one nice little feature is if you come in here and you look at this and I click on edit, if this unit amount, sorry, not the unit amount, if the per pay amount, if I uploaded something, if I come in here and I click edit, if the system calculates something different, it will tell you. So I'm just going to put in, if I hit save, it tells you the entered per pay amount does not match the calculated amount by the system. So if you see that, you want to come back in and double check to see what's wrong, because that tells you that this per pay amount that you entered doesn't calculate correctly. So in this case, I'm like, oh, what did I do wrong? Okay, I'm gonna hit calculate, and I'm gonna let the system do it for me. And now I get my correct per pay amount. And then save. So how do we feel about that? Anybody have questions?
Nothing in the chat.
Okay. So again, this is the same process as last year. I made the report nicer. So you do not have to copy and paste those headers from the template. So that is a huge, that was one of the big issues that we had. But also the old report contained one extra column that you had to delete and it wasn't needed. So I just deleted it off the file completely. So just if you want the new contract report with headers, let us know. We'll upload it into your report manager and we'll also email you the new instructions that eliminate the copy and paste the headers. Also, the old instructions used to have how to import what we call the JSON file into your report manager. So we got rid of that as well because it was causing confusion. Okay. So let me just check my notes, make sure I'm covering everything. Okay, so once you have new contract in here, you can go to your reports and you will want to run your new contract report. You can sort this by however you want, probably. I mean, if you were going to run multiple pay groups on one report, you might want to do sort by pay group. Otherwise, it's not going to be sorted by pay groups. But if you're going to do one pay group at a time, you might want employee name. If you have, maybe you already uploaded all of your new contracts, you can select the pay group that you want. But if you only have one pay group in there, like we do right now, I can just generate, sorry, this is calendar, this is the job calendar, this is pay group. But if you want to generate it for everything that's in there, leave all of these blank and just generate the report. So this gives you a nice little PDF that you can kind of look at everything and make sure everything looks good. Check their obligation, their per pay, their unit, work days, and then somewhere, oh, here's their pays and contract. You can check their list. So everything's on here for you to, review and make sure that everything looks good before you activate. So that's just under your report menu, and it's the new contract report. There also, if you go to reports and your report manager, under the SSDT reports, there is a new contract payroll report and a new contract summary report. Some people like this one because if I recall correctly, I think it's listed a little differently. Yeah, so it's kind of in columns, which might make it easier to verify your work days or your pays and contract, because you can just go down the list real quick. So that is in everybody's report manager. It's the SSDT new contract summary report. Okay. So once you've verified and you've checked and you've checked and you've rechecked, when you are ready, you can activate your new contracts. It used to be back, if you are from classic days, that you didn't activate your new contracts until your old ones were paid out. That's no longer true. You no longer have to wait. Actually, I encourage you to activate before you run the payroll that includes their first workday. So if you have a payroll on August 30th and your payroll start and stop dates are August 16th to August 30th, and your teachers, I'm just going to use teachers because that's usually where this causes problems. Maybe they came back to work on the 17th, August 17th. So their new contract work days actually begin while you're still paying out their old contract. If you activate these new contracts before you run that payroll that includes their first workday, it will continue paying their old compensation, but it will go ahead and pick up the work days and calculate the amount earned on their new compensation. This helps prevent, at the end of the year, your days worked and work days don't match. And this is only true for returning people that you're running through new contract. So activate these contracts before you process the payroll that includes their first day back. Not everybody has this issue, so if you have questions, just let us know. And like I said, this is only true, like you couldn't, if you have new hires, you can't put in their new compensation in advance and hope that it's not going to pay. It will pay them. But for new contracts, it will only pay one compensation on the position. So it'll continue paying out the old one while picking up the work days and the amount earned on the new one. I don't know how clear that was, and it doesn't apply to everybody, but I just wanted to mention that. So when you're ready, you will activate these. So you can do one at a time, or you can do a couple of them. You can sort your grid if you need to. So maybe you just want to do, maybe you have all of your pay groups and you only want to do one pay group. You could filter it and check the boxes. And then when you're ready, you'll hit activate. It's going to ask you if you're sure. And it's also going to ask if you want to transfer the primary compensation flag to new compensations. You want to leave that box checked. It doesn't have anything to do with your payroll processing. It's not going to interfere with anything that you do. But it comes into play for certain reports. So sometimes when we create custom reports, it's based upon this primary compensation flag. So you do want to transfer that over. Otherwise, you have to do it individually, and nobody wants to do that. So once you're ready, you just hit activate, and they're gone. So it's no longer in here. So that is new contracts. Any questions on new contracts? Okay, so let's talk about salary notices. Salary notices became available last year in USPS. We have several districts that are using them. So it's driven by new contracts. So you see right here, we have salary notices. You can generate a PDF file that you could print and mail out. Or you can email. It'll email to the email address you have on file on their employee screen, which to me is awesome because you don't have to print everything. You don't have to, put it in an envelope or stamp it or any of that. So it's a money saver as well. So what you would do is come in here. This is your statement date. This always defaults to today's date. If you are running these in advance because you're going to mail them, you could put the day that you're going to mail them. So maybe you're going to mail them on June 15th or whatever. You could change that. Your sort option, if you are going to, so maybe you're going to email them, but you also want to create a PDF that you can print and put in their file for the auditors. So maybe in that case, you want it by employee name, or maybe you're not going to print it. You're just going to save it for the auditors. You still probably want employee name. The school year automatically defaults. The contract start date, this is if you're using this to filter what salary notices you're working on. The other option is by appointment type, so you can do classified or certified. Probably the most common one, and we didn't have this option last year, so if you use this last year, this will be easier. You can now select by specific pay groups. This is nice because most districts have several salary notices. You've got maybe an administrative one, a classified one, and a certified one, and they look a little bit different and they have a little bit of different information. This will allow you to easily, if you already have all of your pay groups and your new contract maintenance over here, to pick out the pay groups that you want to run. In this case, I've only got one pay group out there, so I don't need to select a pay group because they're all going to be the same. So I'm just going to leave this blank. If you want to include your district information on the salary notice, you'll just check that box right there and make sure this information is correct. And then you're going to select your form. I have a bunch in here because these are all the custom ones that I've created, and this is my testing zone. So I'm just going to use this one right here. And if I were going to email these, I don't have it set up in this demo, but if you want to email them, let us know. There's a little bit of background information that you have to put in. We have a guide on it, but you do have to do some setup in the background to be able to email these. But in this case, I just want to generate a PDF because I want to look at them before I email them anyways. So I'm going to generate. And this is a very basic salary notice. It automatically pulls in their email address, or I'm sorry, their address. This information comes from this screen right here when you said include district information. If you don't check that box, this information right here will not be here. This is just basic verbiage. The teacher, this pulls in directly from the compensation. This pulls in on this screen right here. We said the school year, so that's where that information is pulling from. Their salary amount is coming from their compensation, and then how many days. 26 is their pays and contract. And then this date is hard coded. This one may not be. This may be pulling their compensation start date. But this is very modifiable. Just to show you, I've created these for different districts on letterhead. So if you didn't use this last year and you want to this year, let us know. We can create them for you, but I'm just gonna do, we'll just use this one right here. So you can see I've got it on their letterhead. This one kind of contains all of the same information. See, I know some of these are very different, so I'm gonna see if I can find one. Just to kind of show you. So here's a different one. This one's not on a letterhead, but they requested that their step and column be included, and that pulls directly from their compensation screen. So just different things that we can do. We are slightly limited on what we can put on there based upon what SSDT has allowed. So if you're not already using, the salary notice and you want a custom one created, just put in a ticket and send us like a PDF or a Word document of what your current ones look like, and we'll see what we can do with them. So if you were going to email it, you would then just click on this email. It would be lit up and then it would email out. But this is only, so in here, this is only pulling from what's in new contract maintenance. So if it's not in new contract maintenance, you cannot create a salary notice from here. Can we add signatures? Yes, we actually can. It's a little tricky, but you would basically need to have your treasurer, board president, whoever, or both of them, sign a blank piece of paper and scan and send it to us. And what I do is I kind of copy, like take a snippet and then insert it into the Word document. So that's a good point, because if any of these, if you have already created one and had us create one and you have a new treasurer or president of the board, and you need to get that updated, let us know. Also, I think I had a couple of districts that I hard coded in a specific date, If that was you, then you might want to give us a heads up and we can go over how to update that date that's hard coded in. And we can actually show you how to do it. Some of like updating certain information's easy on the salary notices, but when you're trying to pull in some of these custom fields, it's not easy. So we'll help with that. So if it's not in new contract maintenance, you can't run the salary notices from here, but you can, maybe you totally forget, you're running late, you're just flying through here, and then you're like, oh crap, I forgot to do my salary notices. You can actually go to core compensation. I'm sorry, it's 11 o'clock. I'm running way over, guys. I'm sorry. You can come to your contract compensation and you could actually filter your grid for your label, or however works best for you. In this case, I think the label is going to work great, and say, select them all, and I can do my salary notices straight from here. And you can still email them. So that is one option if you forget to. Just a word of caution, if you're like, oh, well, if I can always just run my salary notices from USPS, then I don't need to, run them in advance for the auditors. I can just pull it whenever they want it. I don't suggest doing that, because if you make any changes to this compensation throughout the year, maybe they went on unpaid leave and you change their contract amount or anything, when you go to do the salary notice, then it will pull information that is current as of the date that you're running it, not go back in time and create one as it was originally. Okay. Any questions on salary notices? Okay. I know we're running late, but Rhonda would like to demonstrate. She has this cool little Excel trick that will help you, especially for your teachers. Probably the teachers is the big one. You have this big salary schedule and you have, 300 teachers or whatever. She has a way that you can automatically update that information based upon this really long formula. So she's going to demonstrate that real quick. If you need to hop off, like I said, we're recording it, we'll post it, but if you've got a few minutes to spare, it's worth your time because it is really handy. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to turn it over to Rhonda and mute myself.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh, hang on. How do we do that? Can you pass the host to me, or it wanted a host key to do that?
Can you hit share at the bottom? Like, I don't see like a...
Okay. Maybe it will let me do that.
There we go.
Is that working? Okay. Yeah,
Yep,
wanted
I
a
see
host
WebEx
key or something, so. Okay, great. So you can share my screen, you can see my screen?
I think so.
Oh, hang on. That's what I wanted you to see. Okay.
Okay, I see it.
So again, I came up with a nifty formula in Excel to use and this is going to be good for those pay groups like the teacher pay group, where you can get your salary schedule in Excel. So this is a sample of when you pull it out, when you're running that new contract. And also, if you look up on the wiki under the USPS side, and you're looking for the shared report on here, it's right under here. So you can just pull off that report and load it into your instance. Because there's a couple different places where they share reports. It's not on where you have in your instance here where it where you have, it's not this public shared reports library. It's a different spot. It's this shared reports that they call redesigned shared reports on here. So that's kind of buried in there. So we'll also gladly upload that to your instance. So I did the same, then you imported that in here. Maybe delete the old one with the incorrect headers on it. A lot of districts have a lot of kind of duplicate reports or something they've tweaked. I always say, don't be afraid to delete something that you absolutely know you're not going to use. So that's, of course, with a bit of caution. So I pulled out the report, same as Tanya did. I used this one, generated that, and I came up with this in Excel. And so what I would do is I would go over, I would have a salary schedule. So for example, this would be like a teacher's salary schedule. Since most districts have, an awful lot of people in the teacher pay group, this is really helpful for populating that. So you would need it with your levels, your columns as in numbers, and your steps as, your numbers of steps. Also, districts tend, when they have these, they'll skip some numbers. So you might have, okay, 1920, okay, then the next one was this 25. You would have to go back in, insert some rows, and kind of duplicate those down. You can see, like here, 20 through 24 is the same, but you need to have each number populated through the number of years for your teacher with the longest tenure. All right, so once you have that, so you'll update, as Tanya indicated, your fours here for your contracts, update your label, update your contract start and stop dates. You'd want to put in formulas for your pay per period. This one, I did my contract obligation divided by my pays in contract. And then for your contract amount, I just put in the same thing. It's just going to copy on over there. And I've got little, notes there that we would use, explaining what we're doing for each one. So for this contract obligation, we're going to use the steps and the columns which are populated within that compensation. And I realize not every district has this done, but once you do it and you do the work the first year, it's going to be so much easier on you. It's going to take a lot of time out of this process at a time when you don't have a lot of time. So, of course, with your columns, you're going to review these for, any changes that were made. Maybe somebody went from a bachelor's to a master's. You're going to want to change that. That you're just going to kind of go through your population of teachers and do that. Your steps, you're going to do exactly what Tanya said, and you're going to go through here, and you're just going to take what we had last year plus 1. And then you're just going to do the copy, paste value in this column. So once you have that, this is what we're going to use. It's going to look up the column and the step, and it's going to take each one and zero in on the amount and then populate that field. Just as a warning, this formula is a monster. So you can see this whole thing right here. We're going to break this down. Okay. First, the index is going to be the field you're searching for to return the value. So you can see this says index on the salary schedule tab, and the field is B6 through G35. Okay. So I also put this in here. I broke it down. I color coded things to help understand that formula. So you can see this is the range where it says index. That's in green. This is in green. B6 through G35. Okay, those are what we're searching to find. Those are the values we want returned. The next one is going to be the row. So here's the row one. So it's going to be looking for this value, that step, and in the value of 13 in that A column. So it's looking for basically your years of experience. And then the next one in the peach color in this column, it's going to be looking for that T2, and then it's looking in your column. So it's looking in, you can see B5 through G5, basically your row 5 to get that column amount. So in our first example here, you're looking up column 1, step 13. Here's column 1, step 13. It's going to zero in on that. And then the first row, you can see I put a little 1 indicating which number it should pull, 56, 485, 33. So you can see 56, 485, 33. Okay, and then it's just the same thing for the remaining. You know, this one, it's going to look up column 3, step 6, and then it's going to return the value there. So column 3, and then step 6, and it's going to get this 54, 307, 59. Right there. And just kind of the same thing. So you can see I only have a small amount of data, but when you're talking districts that might have 100, 200, even more teachers than that, you can see how using the power of Excel can really help to fill in this column for your next year's contract obligation. And the magic in the whole thing is this really long, complicated formula, but we can break that down to the index of the searchable field that you're looking for, and then your step amount here, and then your column there. All right. And then you see there's like a 0 in these, kind of right there. And then in this one. And that just means it's an exact match for that. You know, it says I'm looking exactly for 1. I'm not looking for, there's some other things that it looks for. You know, you can have less than, greater than, or the exact match. We want the exact match. So, and that will turn exactly the contract amount that you're looking for. As always, if you do this method, you know, always go through and spot check, you know, just every couple of them, just say, okay, this person has 4 and 11. Let's go back, double check. Here's 4, and there's the 11. So that one's 64,00423, 64,00423. Just go through your spreadsheet, because you're obviously going to have more than 4 of these. You're going to have, you know, 100, 200, or whatever it is. Keep going down, double checking that. I mean, it should not fail. but sometimes you get issues where something's not an absolute, or something happens within the formula and the formula gets messed up and it will pull in the wrong data. And then we can go back through with you and just determine when that got off, and then help you get that correct again. So after that's done, just the same as what Tanya said, you're going to take all of your items with your formulas in. You've got all of these with formulas, and then you're just going to go copy and paste value, and then you're going to put it into a CSV uploadable spreadsheet. So what I did was I took my working file, copied it over, did a copy paste value for everything, and then of course I took out the directions, and then you can just upload it just like she said into your new contract in the import. So choose that and then upload that in, and then it's such a time saver with especially the teacher pay group. If you have other pay groups that have a particular salary schedule similar to this, or maybe it's just, they don't have possibly a, a degree part of it, but just have a step and column, and there's several people in that, more than a couple, this might be worth your while to do it. But the greatest use that I saw for this was for the teacher pay group. So that was a lot, and I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the screen. And we're going on to almost about an hour and a half here. Let me see if there's any questions. Okay, nothing yet. And yeah, if any other questions, just feel free to, get a ticket in to us, and we'll be glad to help you with that.
Okay, so one last thing before we sign off, because I know you're sick of looking at us. When this is ready, we will post this webinar so you can come back and view it again. It will be, this is our webpage, and if you go to finance and then state software redesign, right here, we've got click here for HCC training recordings, and it should be right here at the top. And when you click on it, it will send you directly to YouTube. You no longer need the WebEx password. So that's everything. If nobody has any questions, then we will call it a day. And I see several of you already put in tickets about the new contract report with headers. I will get those loaded as soon as we're done with this call. If you have questions about what Rhonda demonstrated, just put in a ticket and we'll help you out, because it would be a time saver if you can get through that massive the massive what's it called, formula.
Yep. Yeah, the index match formula.
All right, so I'm going to stop the recording and